splurge all at once. I didn't want to be one of those stories where, you get gain the money and this wealth and then lose it all.
Winning the lottery sounds like the perfect excuse to quit your job forever. But apparently, not everyone got that memo. Some winners walked away with millions and still refused to quit their jobs. What made them stay when everyone else would have walked out? Let's hear from them. Neil Wanless. Neil Wanless was only 23 when his whole life changed overnight. A broke cowboy from South Dakota living in a trailer selling scrap metal to survive. He could barely afford gas for his pickup when he bought a Powerball ticket in 2009. A few days later, that same ticket made him a multi-millionaire. The man won $232 million to be exact. That kind of money could make anyone disappear into a life of luxury. But Neil didn't run off to the beach. He went right back to work on his ranch. He didn't buy a sports car or fly around the world. Instead, he bought land, a lot of land. The man bought thousands of acres in central South Dakota. While most people would have used that jackpot to escape work forever, Neil doubled down. He said ranching was his life, and that's exactly what he did with his fortune. He expanded his herds, invested in new equipment, and rebuilt his property into one of the most successful ranches in the area. He told reporters he wanted to give back to the community that helped him when times were hard. And he did so by hiring locals, donating to schools, and keeping that cowboy work ethic alive. It's rare to see someone turn a lottery win into something that still looks like real life, but Neil did. He just made the life he already had into something bigger. And honestly, that says a lot. Some people buy yachts. Neil bought tractors. Some hide from taxes. He paid off debts and built something lasting. People in South Dakota still talk about him like he's proof that money doesn't have to change you unless you let it. Neil's story makes you think maybe keeping your boots in the dirt is not such a bad choice after all. Cynthia Stafford. Now take Cynthia Stafford as an example. She wasn't broke, but she was exhausted. A single woman raising 5 kids in Los Angeles after her brother's death. She worked in advertising and film production, barely keeping her house together. In 2007, she won $112 million in the Mega Millions lottery. It was the kind of money that erases stress instantly. People expected her to quit, move to Beverly Hills, and never lift a finger again. But Cynthia did the opposite. She stayed busy. She said from day one she had a plan, not just to spend, but to build. She used her winnings to launch her own production company called Queen Nefertari Productions. She wanted to tell stories, create films, and employ other people in her industry. And she didn't stop working. She managed her business, went to meetings, and kept pushing herself like she never won. When asked why, she said she loved creating things and that work gave her purpose. The money gave her freedom to choose what kind of work she wanted, but not the reason to quit entirely. Cynthia became something of a motivational figure too. She often spoke about manifestation, about how she visualized the exact jackpot number she wanted before she won. Some thought it was strange, but others called it powerful. Either way, she didn't sit at home counting her dollars. She kept moving, building, and learning. She even talked about how fame and fortune can be isolating if you don't stay grounded. Brad Duke. Then there is Brad Duke, a guy whose name sounds like it belongs in a comic book, but his story is surprisingly down to earth. He was a fitness instructor from Idaho, living an ordinary life when he won $220 million in the Powerball back in 2005. That's enough to make anyone vanish into early retirement. But Brad didn't even take a break. He went back on his bike, teaching spin classes just days later. He told everyone he had a long-term plan. His goal was to turn that $220 million into $1 billion through smart investing. And the crazy thing is, he actually meant it. Brad didn't see the win as an escape. He saw it as a challenge. He hired financial advisors, built a team to manage his money, and started an investment firm. But he kept his normal job for over a year. Students at his gym said he acted the same as before. Same classes, same energy, and same cheap gym shorts. Brad believed that working out and teaching were part of who he was. It kept him grounded. He told reporters that he didn't want the money to define him. And it didn't. While most lottery winners burn through their fortune in 5 years, Brad grew his. He bought property, funded charities, and even created the Duke Foundation to help youth programs in Idaho. What's inspiring about Brad's story is how much discipline he had when everyone expected chaos. He didn't quit working because he knew structure was his secret weapon. Without it, he would be just another headline about a millionaire gone broke. Instead, he became an example of how money can multiply if you treat it like a tool, not a trophy. And let's be honest, no one stays at their job after winning $200 million. But Brad did. Because for him, quitting would have meant losing more than a paycheck. It would have meant losing his focus and his peace. Bob Erb. And then there is Bob Erb, the man who won $25 million in Canada's Lotto Max in 2012 and couldn't stop working on his cause. Bob was not just some typical winner. He was a construction worker from British Columbia, known for his big laugh and bigger heart. He had been an open activist for marijuana legalization long before it became trendy or legal. When he won, everyone assumed he would finally slow down, but instead, he ramped up. Bob kept showing up at job sites. He helped friends with renovation work, funded community projects, and poured millions into helping others. But his biggest focus stayed the same: fighting for cannabis reform. He used his winnings to donate to organizations pushing legalization across Canada. And the craziest thing is that he gave away nearly $8 million of his fortune within the first few years. Not because he wanted publicity, but because that's what he believed in. He even tipped strangers thousands of dollars. Once, while eating at a local diner, he overheard the owner talking about how her daughter needed dental surgery. He left a $10,000 tip on the table. That was just Bob being Bob. He didn't quit his job or his cause. He just had more fuel to keep it going. Bob said something that summed up his mindset perfectly. He said, "Work gives me a reason to wake up." The lottery just amplified his principles. He stayed in his small town, kept the same circle of friends, and used his money like a tool for change, not comfort. Jerry Heath. Next, we have the shocking story of Jerry Heath. This is not your usual lottery fairy tale. He was not some overnight millionaire rushing to collect his check and disappear to a private island. He was a U.S. Army veteran and a retired police detective from Long Beach, California, someone who had already lived through decades of pressure, risk, and discipline. And when he finally hit the jackpot, he didn't panic or celebrate wildly. He waited for months. Heath bought the winning ticket at a Ralph's grocery store for the August 19th drawing, but he didn't actually see his payout until almost 5 months later. Most winners claim their prize within days. Jerry had to go through an exhausting vetting process just to prove he was the rightful winner. The California Lottery's law enforcement team investigated, verified, and double-checked everything before handing over the money. It was a long wait, even for someone with his patience. He had won $44.3 million in the Powerball. When the money finally came through, it was about $17 million after taxes. Jerry's reaction after getting the money was calm, grounded, and practical. He paid off his home, invested wisely, and set aside money for his daughter and grandchildren. He described himself as a simple man, someone who came from a low-income background and still enjoyed the little things. What's remarkable is that he didn't let the jackpot change his habits. He said he doesn't travel much, doesn't chase luxury, and still plays the lottery every week. You would think after hitting one of the most impossible jackpots, with odds of 1 in 292 million, he would never buy another ticket again. But Jerry loves the game. He even said playing the lottery was his only luxury, and it's not about greed. He knows part of that money funds California's public education system. For every $2 ticket sold, about 80 cents goes towards schools. He has been playing for years with that purpose in mind, and now, even after winning, he hasn't stopped supporting it. Jerry Heath's patience, discipline, and steady mindset make him one of the rare winners who handled the weight, the fame, and the fortune with total control. He could have lost his cool, but he didn't. That's what you need to do if you ever win the lottery. What should you do? The first rule here is that you should never quit your job the next morning after you hit the jackpot. Even if you cannot stand your boss or that blinking office light that's been broken for a year, don't walk out just yet. Give it time. The first few weeks after a win feel like a dream, but once the noise fades, reality hits. If you quit too fast, you might lose more than a paycheck. You lose routine, identity, and purpose. Experts always say the same thing. You should build a team before you make a move. A lawyer, a financial planner, and a tax professional are your new best friends. They will protect your money while you protect your sanity. You don't need to spend a dime before you understand how much you actually have and how much will disappear after taxes and fees. That step alone saves people from disaster. But the real secret here is that you should never stop working. Maybe not the same job, but something. Find a reason to wake up every day. It could be volunteering, building a business, or turning your passion into a project. Working gives structure to success. It keeps your mind clear and your life balanced. When people quit everything and rely only on investments, they often drift. The days feel empty, the excitement fades, and they start filling that void with spending, like bigger houses, faster cars, and random luxuries. That hole never fills. Purpose does. So yes, celebrate your win. Buy yourself something nice, but don't lose your rhythm. Keep doing something that challenges you or helps others. Because the truth is, the lottery can buy comfort, but it cannot buy direction. And without direction, even a millionaire can feel broke. If you want more tips on what to do after winning, don't go anywhere. Watch the next video to learn about the biggest lottery winners ever, the ones who turned luck into lasting success. See how their stories ended before you decide what you would do with your jackpot.